Welcome to the ANEW Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogram Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. I follow my guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us.
Welcome back to the ANEW Insight Podcast. We're back for the second half of our incredible interview with board-certified wellness practitioner, nervous system mastery coach, and somatic practitioner, Karen Canham. Karen gave us some really thought-provoking insight into stress management, especially for high achievers and those people pleasers out there. I cannot wait to learn some more. Welcome back, Karen.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the actual practice. I would love for you to give our listeners, you gave us kind of a mindfulness grounding, exercise that you start people on. I would love it if you could give our listeners some simple somatic or nervous system regulation practices that they can use during, say, a demanding workday or for some high stakes.
Yeah, I'll give you a few different options. So one of the ones that I love, and this is honestly what I would call as a neuro tool. This is something that I would use when I feel like I'm either activated or shut down, or a client is, and this is a tool that is going to stimulate that vagus nerve and help bring us back into that regulation. And so one of the ones that I really love, well, there's several that are with the ears that I really love, but I'll give you one that's pretty simple. So we just put our thumbs and our pointer fingers on our earlobes, and you just want to like gently, so we're not like tugging really hard, just gently tug down. You can kind of feel like you're massaging these lobes as well. If it's helpful, you can always close your eyes and then just start noticing what's shifting in the body. You might start to notice that your breath starts to deepen, which is common. You might feel like you want to sigh out, which is common. Yeah, and then just noticing, when we're doing this slight tugging on the ears, like, is there any cracking that maybe is going on? How does it correlate with the jaw?
Yeah. It's making my jaw want to just relax.
Yeah. And so these tools that we can use, we don't have to do them for a long period of time, 10 seconds. It's going to start to build that safety in our body. It brings us back into that present moment. That vagus nerve is stimulated, and we can kind of feel, I feel so much calmer.
Whoa, that was good.
A little bit calmer. The other thing that I like to do is when we're already in a regulated place, then that's when we can really, we can drop into our bodies. And the first thing that I'll always do with people is to provide a safety anchor with them. And so if you're doing this on your own, you want to create that safety for you. And that can be something that's a person, could be like your safety anchor. They don't have to be with you. You could just keep them in mind. It can be something that's in your environment. So maybe it's a picture that you have or a stuffed animal that you have. It can be something that's tactile, like your blanket. Something that is going to help ground you and create safety in your body. And then knowing that safety anchor you can always come back to when you're moving through this somatic exercising or experience. And once we do that and we have that safety anchor, then I would start to go into the body. And something simple that you can do on your own is just do a body scan with the sensations in mind. So the 5 sensations that we have, we just want to work our way up from our feet to our head or the other way, whatever feels good. And then just kind of go through those 5 sensations and those parts of the body. And it doesn't have to be 5 in each area, just kind of, let it be and like what comes up. So maybe we're like really feeling, I feel a lot of tingling in my right foot right now. It's kind of like starting to fall asleep. which honestly I didn't even recognize until I started doing this exercise. And then, as I'm moving my way up, it's like, oh, well, it's kind of affecting my knee a little bit. My knee feels a little bit tight. And then I'm recognizing that I feel in this chair and I kind of feel heavy today. I feel like there's a lot of weight into my chair today, and it feels a little bit warm. I have this blanket behind me, and this blanket is creating this warmth that I feel on my back. So we don't have to go through every 5 sensation in every area. It's just kind of like what comes up for you, what's like the most prevalent in that moment. Now, when you're in a session, it can be different. We can start in that way. We might go into a specific scenario that's currently happening in your life, or maybe it was something that was a little bit more activating a situation that you were in, or something even from your childhood. And then we want to start to feel into that specific moment and do the somatic work around that specific moment. The reason that we do this is because it starts to release that from our body that's been stored in our body for a long time, but it also starts to increase what we're able to handle. And so I use that safety anchor because we always want to pay attention to our clients, or if we're doing this on ourselves, if it feels like it's too much, we can pull ourselves back into like what feels good for us. But the reason that we do that work is because you're paying attention and your body needs to be heard. And then once we pay attention to our body and it's heard, then it can start to release from our body. And also, like I said, that capacity piece, that's what we're working on. We're working to expand how much capacity we have. And so we may come in and we may have a very little capacity because we've been so overloaded for so long. And so it can be something simple of like my daughter screaming in the car when I'm trying to drive, right? And it's just like really activating my system. And we can do this type of work where we can expand what we're able to hold so that it doesn't have such an effect on our system.
I love all of this. So we have some real simple practices, the earlobes, doing a body scan. You can do that in a session with somebody. You can also just do that lying down. I have a body scan meditation that I can link to the end of this podcast. And I'm sure you have some, maybe some resources for people. You can always send them our way, and we can put them in the show notes. But there are so many things that you can do on a moment-to-moment basis. Give me a picture of what might happen to somebody if they aren't able to release some of these old trapped tensions in the body. What kinds of physical or mental difficulties come up with trapped, trauma or tensions in the body?
A lot. There's a lot of studies out there right now, and I'm actually reading this book called Brain Energy, which is very interesting and has a lot of data in it. But the common things that I see is a lot of autoimmune conditions. I have one myself. This is also why I got into this work. Another common thing that I see is mood disorders. Another common thing I see is just this, it can be like a chronic condition like Crohn's or high blood pressure, and then a lot of people feel, there's this sense of I'm really brain fogged. I don't even know what I did this morning. And because of all of this new science that's emerging, people start to come to me and they're worried about what does this mean for my longevity? So there's a lot of talk about I need to shift because I'm afraid that I'm going to end up with dementia or Alzheimer's or something that is really really scary to think about when you're younger, but people are starting to recognize the amount of what stress can really do to your body. And if we don't do something about it, that it can really wreak havoc on your system.
Oh, absolutely. You can see, kind of any physical manifestation from autoimmune difficulties, IBS, gastrointestinal issues. You can see a lot of muscular joint pain. And, you can definitely the brain fog, difficulties with mental health. There's so many physical ailments that can come from what we've stored in the body from, also repetitive cognitive ruminations. And so releasing all of these can do wonders for your health. I would love to hear, without sharing any confidential details, can you describe a moment when this work created a truly meaningful shift in your client's life?
Yeah, I had a client recently, and she's an entrepreneur as well. And I love that you talked about trust in the beginning, because that was one of her biggest goals. And what she came to me for is like, I'm not trusting myself. And she was able to, recently in the new year, she was able to get many different contracts, and it had been a struggle for her prior to us starting this work together, that she wasn't able to. She was very worried. There was this like, I'm afraid I'm going to be homeless. I don't know when the other shoe's going to drop. I don't trust myself. Like, is this the right decision that I'm making? And of course, being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things that are going on. You're wearing every hat. She's a solopreneur. So lots of things happening there. And so not only to be able to see her now gaining this work, and then, trusting that she's making the right choices of who she's working with, and just there's a lot more easefulness. She also has told me that her partner has been like, wow, you're just like totally a different person. And it's like so refreshing. And then she's told me, and I see like shifts in my partner as well. So that really is the most rewarding thing that I see, is the people that I'm working with creating these ripple effects.
Absolutely. I can totally agree. I think I see people come in with a lot of need for this external validation, and that comes from a lack of safety. That comes from the need to people please. And when people learn how to address their nervous system and take care of themselves from the inside out, I think that validation shifts from the external to the internal. How am I actually feeling about this work? Is this work I even like to do? If it's not work I don't like to do, why am I doing it? And why am I so driven to do it? And, that can help them find more purpose in their lives. It also can help them find some real true connection, like with your client and their partner. It's not necessarily just about pleasing him or making sure, you're doing everything right for him. It can be about, hey, I'm taking care of this apparatus first. I'm putting the oxygen mask on myself so that I can feel amazing. So then I'm really, truly helping to take care of the rest of my family. I think it's so important for us to also think about our why. Why are we doing all of this? And what purpose is it serving? So I love that you're helping people find their purpose and their why. Tell me, how do you see nervous system health shaping the future of leadership development? Workplace culture, which we could talk for a long time about workplace culture and performance.
I think especially with all the AI that's happening, this is the skill that people need to have. There's so much that technology can do for us now, that it really is the human aspects of what people are going to start to be looking for in these positions that you have, and leadership is going to become more and more important. And I do work with corporations. And so, yeah, we can talk a lot about this, and in the shifts that I see, like there is a great shift that I see, and people are open to doing this work. They have an understanding that it's important. I want, percentage wise, just from what I know and who I contact and who I speak to, it's a much lower percentage of people that are open to this type of work and breed it into their corporations. Then there's a lot of work to be done on our ends that we can get in there and teach this stuff. But I've had really good success. I think for corporations, they want to see numbers, they want to see shifts, they want it calculated. And so something that I've developed is surveys that I do, so that something that's really intangible, I can create that more tangibility to it. And they can see like the shifts. And it really does start from the top. So it's really difficult. It's almost impossible to work with somebody at a level that isn't at the top. I just talked about ripple effect, and like that's such a thing, and it does happen. But in the corporate world, there's so much that you can do. And if we can't get like the top person on board, it's challenging. It's challenging to make like the shift that really needs to happen. One of the biggest things that come up for topics for me when I speak to corporations is all the mask wearing that they do, and keeping, their personal life separate from their work life, which is a mask. And that in itself is a TED Talk, and how damaging that is to your system. That lands a little bit better. I mean, I guess the thing that I've recognized in working with corporations is that you really need to speak their language. And so using analogies that you can relate to them with, and staying out of like the nervous system language, is really helpful. But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it is really a blue ocean, as I would say this work really is. And there's so much that you can do with it, and directions that you can go with it. And, I remember when I started yoga back in the day, and people were kind of like, ooh, I don't know if I want to bring this into my corporation, and now it's everywhere. And so it's exciting. It's exciting that there is this cultural shift. And in my opinion, it's the most important thing as we move forward in this just fast changing, technology driven world that we're in.
Yes. All yes. And I want to touch a little bit about toxic workplace culture. And I think it's so interesting that you can't enact change unless you are working from the leadership down. How does leadership affect a toxic workplace environment? And what are the most common traits of leaders, and also the employees that contribute to toxic workplaces? It's a lot of what I hear in my practice. Oh my gosh, it's so toxic at work. Why?
Yeah. And I don't think it's just work. I think it's in so many different groups that you're in, right? I was going to say mom groups, just because of that article recently. Yeah, I mean, it's in religious groups. It's everywhere. It's like you're in high school. It's all of these places that this toxicity is in. And the biggest thing about nervous system work is it really teaches you how to self-lead. And that really was the biggest piece for me, is like, wow, I really need to start, not necessarily even start taking accountability, because that really wasn't it. It was just like, I'm the only one who's in control of what's going to happen in my life. Right. I remember feeling when I started doing this work, it was like, I don't want to be the leader today. I'm tired of being the leader. And then it becomes more it just becomes more of who you are. So it becomes easier. But the most toxic thing that I see is we are hiring people into these leadership roles who may have been really good at the role that they were doing prior. Like if it's insurance sales, for example, they were a top producer, right? And now we're going to have them lead a team. Well, that doesn't make them a good leader. So there's that happening. And the biggest toxicity that I will see is that people will get into these, they're stuck in talking about the story. They're stuck in the story. They're stuck in talking about, what's going on. They're stuck in talking about like what other people, instead of coming from a place of what am I truly trying to do here? They're responding from a dysregulated place. They're responding from a place of all these attachment styles, as you say, or these parts that I say, or they're responding from a place that they're in this like sympathetic state. And they don't even have the awareness that that's happening. And so ultimately that's toxic. And then that's creating more and more toxicity, because if I'm toxic and I'm communicating from those places, it's going to trigger the other person and all that stuff that like is going on with them. And it's just going to keep snowballing and snowballing.
Absolutely. And I think leadership can contribute to a safe or unsafe workplace. That is the most important thing, because once you feel unsafe in your workplace, and it really usually stems from the top down, that's when all of your old attachment styles and your ways of coping and dealing with stress, poorly or not, come out. And oftentimes that's when we'll see, backstabbing, we'll see competitiveness, we'll see, just the Hunger Games coming out in the workplace. And it's usually because people are safe. That is the most important thing I think a leader can take away from this podcast is how do you create a safe place for your workers? Because if you did that, you would see fewer and fewer incidences of those toxic incidences. So that is where you come in, where you help leaders. And if you are not able to work with Karen, I highly recommend people to find somebody in their area or wherever they are that will help them understand what a safe workplace truly looks like. Meaning, are people free to speak their minds? Can they contribute equally? Is it a supportive environment? How are we listening to our employees or not? Do we want feedback from them? Which, of course, the answer is yes. And how can we get that from them so that we can become better as leaders? So there's lots of people out there helping. Karen is one of them. So Karen, tell people how they can work with you. How can they find you? Give us all the information.
Yeah, the best place to find me is on LinkedIn, and that's at Karen Ann Wellness. So KarenAnn Wellness. You can DM me there. You can also find me on Instagram at the same handle. You can DM me there as well. And the work that I do right now, so I do work with corporate clients, and I work with individuals as well. And the modalities that I use, like I said in the beginning, are mainly these neuro tools, and then we do the somatics, and then we do parts work. And all about regulating that nervous system. And I will say, I love what you said about leadership and that safety. And ultimately, that's the goal, is to create this internal safety for you. And that's how you're going to self-lead yourself, and then you're going to lead other people. Because if you're not safe, people around you cannot feel safe.
Yes, and there's so much power in that. I think a lot of people think that stuff is just happening to us. We look out and, our kind of fractured political climate, and it's like, oh my gosh, all this stuff is happening to everybody. And that's true. And they feel out of control as a result. But learning how to actually control your nervous system changes everything, because you can't change what's going on out there, but you can certainly change how you react to it. What happens in your body when you are seeing that, and what will help you move forward in that kind of safe nervous system feeling. So I'm so glad you're doing work out there like that, helping people really realize their capacity for internal control. So thank you for joining me, Karen. You're wonderful.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I did too. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. I'm really looking forward to the next exciting interview. I hope you join me next time. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. Please remember, the contents shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Insight Podcast tab. And follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.